Uh, Today I'm going to talk about something, it's called Apex Achievers, and this is something that we want to introduce to the company, it's really about being the best at what you do, right? And what I want to go through today is really about, what does it mean to be an Apex Achiever? How does that relate to kind of the work that you guys are doing? And what does that mean for us as an organization? And also try and relate this to what's happening in our industry, other professionals, other technologies that have done some amazing things and are doing some amazing things. And also outside our industry, other businesses as well as sportsmen and as well as celebrities and so on, right? Again, it's really about being the best at what you do. So what does Apex really mean? Apex actually stands for top or peak in Latin. It's a Latin word. And some of you all may have heard the term apex predator. And what an apex predator means is that there is nothing above you in that food chain, right? Like in the animal kingdom, that's the alpha. That's known as the alpha. And if you look at some of the animals that profile for that, it's like a tiger in most jungles, I would say, is an alpha predator. The killer whale in the ocean. In Sri Lanka, probably the jaguar, the leopard, because I think that's probably the top of the food chain in Sri Lanka. Maybe elephant. I don't know who will win a fight if that's between an elephant and a leopard. And in the entire animal kingdom, it's actually the human, right? If you look at it, we have, through our intelligence and technology, we potentially can kill any animal. Not through just strength, right? If we can't go against a whale, but we have missiles that can go against a whale, right? So that's what it really means to be an alpha predator, and that's where this word also comes from. Then you relate this to what is an alpha apex achiever, right? And this is really about being the best in what you do, right? And if you look at different industries, you look at different people, and you look at the concepts of what they have done, they spend numerous years practicing, learning, studying, self-learning industries and things that they work in to become the best in that class, right? A few examples. Wright brothers, right? They are the people who really invented flight for us. There were many others who did that during that same period. I think around 1903, 1904, that period, right? But they are the people that really went out of the way, and they had a very different strategy to a lot of other competition at that time. The competition was trying to build engines that were more superior. These guys were trying to control the aircraft through a better lever mechanism, right? So they introduced 3 levers that allowed them to control the aircraft, and they became the first people to actually introduce flight to the world, right? So again, a lot of work, a lot of history, a lot of background to get to something very significant. Neil Armstrong, probably one of the most renowned, experienced astronaut in the world, first person to the moon. Again, examples of apex achievers, right? Let's look at it in our industry. These names are not unfamiliar to you, but these guys are what I would consider apex technologists. They are the best in the industry, and they have achieved a significant amount of work, right? So if you look at Steve Jobs, the iPhone really changed the entire smartphone industry, right? There were many smartphones before the iPhone. A lot of us carried, including me, a BlackBerry. But the smartphone actually the Apple actually changed that entire space, and Apple was reinvented as a result of that, right? So, and again, if you look at Steve Jobs, he's been doing this for a long time. He's been in this industry from the Macintosh days to even now. Apple is one of the top tech companies in the world. It's one of the best companies in the world, right? As a result of a lot of history and background. Bill Gates, before he came in, we grew up in a Unix world. There was not really much of a user interface for the operating systems and so on. He brought in Windows. and really focused on the design and the usability of the operating system, right? Again, changed the way we work with computers. None of you all, I don't know whether all of you all know who Dennis Ritchie is, but he was actually quite famous when I was programming. He's the person who invented C, and also the person who invented the Unix operating system, right? He's not as wealthy as the other two, but in our day, he was one of the really top achievers in the industry. One thing that I've got to mention here is 2 of these 3 people are dead, right? They're pretty old, so but they spent a lot of time in the industry building some amazing companies as well. So I also want to the guys I showed you before are 3 really outstanding people in the technology industry who have been doing it for a long time and actually really hit that what you call an apex achievement, right? Here are 2 individuals, in my opinion, are not there yet. But if you look at what they're doing, potentially in our lifetime, these are the guys who are really going to be the apex achievers in our industry, right? Because they're doing some amazing job, right? So if you look at Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, a lot of people have built social media platforms before, but he's the leader right now. And it's not only about Facebook, he's actually changing a lot around Facebook, around building new products, innovation, and so on. Guess what he's doing right now?
Emergency? Is that where you can find, if there's a natural disaster and you can...
Is that what he's doing right now?
Yes, that's the latest update. To say that you're safe if there's a natural disaster and if you're in that area.
You're probably right. That's probably one of the products he's doing. But one of the things that he's spending a lot of time is learning Mandarin.
Okay.
Why is he learning Mandarin?
Because 1/6 of population, world population is Chinese.
Exactly, right? Actually, there are 2 reasons, I think. One, wife is Chinese. And the second is the billion+ people in China. And Facebook is banned in China, right? So he's trying to figure out a way to penetrate China, and you can't do that if you don't know Mandarin, right? So he's learning it himself. He did actually an interview recently in Mandarin, and that kind of shocked a lot of people. But he's hungry. He's hungry about changing things. He's hungry about learning. He's hungry about success, growing, and very ambitious, right? He's also, there's another interesting project. I think what you're saying was really true. I was not aware of it, the emergency thing, but he's also, they're introducing drone technology to African countries to provide internet. So the penetration of the internet in those countries are very minimal, right? And the telcos regulate that. So that's a hindrance for his product. What is he going to do? What is he doing? He's building prototype drones that can transmit the internet to countries that don't have it, right? So they're challenging boundaries and doing certain great things, right? Elon Musk, again, they actually talk about Elon Musk as the potential next Steve Jobs, more than Mark Zuckerberg as well in the Silicon Valley, right? But again, what is he doing? He's very young. He's really changing the automobile industry with the electric car. There were many electric cars before him and now, but he's also challenging the gas and energy industry, right? So there's a lot of change happening there. So these 2 guys are people I would closely follow as potential apex achievers in the future, right? We are only seeing the beginning of what they can achieve, and they've done a lot already. A lot more to be done. So that was more in relation to the tech industry, but you see apex achievers a lot in sports. Right? You see a lot in sports. You see this a lot among celebrities, actors, people who dance and so on. Right? So if you look at So I took a few examples in sport. Michael Jordan is one of the most advanced or most renowned basketball players in the world, right? If you go to the NBA website, he's acclaimed to be the greatest basketball player of all time. There are other players right now, but the amount of accolades and achievements that he has achieved is significant, right? And the amazing thing is that he was cut out, he was dropped from his high school team. Probably had a lot of failures before he succeeded, right? Muhammad Ali, right? I think all of you are familiar with who Muhammad Ali is. One of the most successful boxers of, I guess, my generation. People are laughing. But he started learning to box by necessity. I believe his bike was stolen, and then he wanted to protect himself, and he started to learn to box, and that's how his career started. Right? But again, if you look at the achievement is amazing. There are many boxers out there, right? But to be able to be different and to be a class of his own is what it's really about. And see what he says, right? Actually, you can resonate this to what you all are doing. Champions aren't made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill. So a lot of people say that you're born talented. There's an argument, are you born talented? Do you acquire talent? Whether you're born talented, I strongly believe sometimes you may have a little more talent than other people in certain things that you do, but you need to, more than anything else, have the will to execute that talent, right? And that's what he talks about here. We don't have to look far. If you look at our Sri Lankan cricket team, they're an apex team. They're one of the best cricket teams in the world. And time and again we have proved that at the World Cup, and it's one of those things that we can be really proud of in Sri Lanka. And if you look at people like Mahela Jayawardena Kumar and say Murali, some of the best cricketers in the world, not just in Sri Lanka, they can stand their ground across any team, right? But there's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of perseverance. It's a lot of practice. It doesn't come overnight. None of these people were born like that, right? I think the guy who has potentially got there the fastest is Mark Zuckerberg. I don't think he's got there yet. He built something that's amazing in a very short period. But if you look at all these other people, it's been a long journey. Okay, so what are the values? If you look at what do these people, these great teams or great people have, what are their values, right? And I think you can really break this down to a few. Number one, and I think this is obvious from any example I showed you, is they really love what they're doing. And they're really passionate about it. And if you don't love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, I don't believe you can be an apex achiever. You can try hard or whatever you do, but if you don't love what you're doing, I don't think you can get there. Number two, it's a lot of perseverance, right? A lot of years spent practicing, planning, training yourself, studying, many years, right? Look at Steve Jobs. How many years he has been in the industry? Look at Bill Gates. Look at Michael Jordan. Years and years of industry experience, right? There's a book I read, it's called Outliers. I'll recommend all of you to read this. It's an amazing book by a person called Malcolm Gladwell. And what he does is he actually analyzes great people. One of them, and tries to go back in time to understand what makes them great. What have they done to make them great? How did they practice to get where they are? Sports personalities, business personalities, and so on. And the common theory that he came out with is that you need to put in 10,000 hours of practice to be successful. So this is his theory. I think there's a lot of truth behind it. 10,000 hours is a lot of time, right? I did some rough calculations. So if you want to be a successful, good engineer, that translates to about 13 years of experience. Right? On an average, 4 hours of coding a day. Obviously, you don't code on Saturday, Sunday. That's about 13 years, right? But what he says is, if you do 10,000 hours of practice in whatever you do, you'll be successful and you'll be really good at that. But the underlying thing here is that to be an apex achiever, you have to practice, right? There's no shortcut to it. You're not deterred by failure. We saw that with the example, even with Michael Jordan. And you have to be hungry for knowledge, right? All of these people, even if you speak to Mahalo or Kumar Sangakkara, every day they're learning, every day they're practicing about cricket, about the other teams, how they're doing, how they're practicing, applying it to themselves. It's about self-management, it's about discipline, self-training, right? That's a continuous part and parcel of what you do. You have to be ambitious to be successful. You can't be mediocre. There's no opportunity here for mediocrity, right? You have to shrink mediocrity, and then you're not deterred by risk, and you don't define yourself within boundaries. You have to think outside the box. A lot of these people have skills or capabilities that are not necessarily normal. That's why them taking risks and doing things that are really not normal, right? That's what makes them different. So what does this mean for Leapset, right? And what does it really mean for us? So as a company, one thing that we decided is that we will only hire the best. And we hire really two types of people. I'm really focusing more on the engineering side. It's not to say that non-engineering we are not hiring the best. But if you look at on the engineering side, there are two types of people that we hire, and we will only hire the best of the best from the industry. Number one, it's the graduates from Colombo, Morato, and potentially SLIT. We will only hire the best graduating class from there, right? The best people that come out of those universities. In the industry, again, there are a lot of people that want to join us. I think I mentioned this before. 3% of everyone that applies to our company we hire, approximately 75 resumes for each position, right? So we will always be very selective. We will be very targeted and only hire really top-notch engineering talent. There's a lot more that we have to do, including myself, in the development and retention side, right? Of the culture, our training programs. These are all going to be aligned towards grooming the best people and the best engineering organization. The full stack engineer, I introduced that concept to you guys the last time. That's going to be the foundation of our training and so on. But if you look at what that really means, is really about gaining a lot of experience in different things, mastering the entire technology stack, which really helps you to become a top engineer, right? And the culture and office environment I talked about, I think there's more to be discussed later on the Engineering Hall of Fame and also some of the other things that these guys are doing. But again, we're trying to promote to get the best out of our teams. The technologies and tools that we use will be state-of-the-art, as you already know. And we have to strive as an organization to do nothing but the best, right? In everything that we do, whether it's development, QA, project management, and so on. So that's what it really means to us at Leapset. So take that a little internally and figure out, okay, what does that mean to you as an individual? How does that fit into what you all are doing, right? So as an individual, the most important thing I will tell you, especially for your career development, is always stay hungry. Right? Not for food, but for knowledge and self-learning, right? Be hungry for knowledge, learn. I think a very important thing that a lot of people in this company I know don't do is they don't read enough. It's really about reading what's happening in the industry, learning from the other industries. That's what we can actually apply to our industry and so on. Every day. This is something you need to do every day. So a lot of us are very comfortable learning technologies, right? So if I was to ask Asiri or ask Rohan, he'll love to talk about JavaScript and Java and all the beautiful jargon. But that's good. That's good for you in terms of very specific technological skills. But it's really important that you understand the industry that you're working in, the IT industry, the restaurant industry. Because only if you know those industries and what's happening among competition and so on is when you can apply those learnings to the products and engineering efforts that you're doing. General knowledge is fundamental. Right? And sometimes I'm shocked about what some people tell us, right? It's fundamental because if you know what's going on in the world, you can propose solutions that things that we're doing on the engineering side eventually are solutions, right? Solutions to problems that exist in the world today, right? So if you know the problems in the world today, you can propose solutions and implement whatever you're doing in line with those problems, right? And of course, learning from your peers, right? I think it's very important, and we should be really privileged that we have a very senior team here of people with a lot of experience in the industry. Learn as much as possible from them. That's going to be very important. As an engineer, what does this mean beyond just your career? Don't settle for mediocrity. Okay, I mentioned this before. Number one, when you're given a problem and you're supposed to code it, analyze that problem really, really well, right? What are you trying to solve? Not from an engineering perspective, try and understand what is the business problem you're trying to solve. And is my solution really going to solve that business problem? Because if you're not convinced that that business problem needs to be solved, don't do it. It doesn't make sense. If you're not convinced, you're not going to convince someone else. Organize your work. I think sometimes a lot of us tend to dive into things before organizing ourselves around planning the work that you're doing. Don't settle for anything less than excellence in the code you write. Right? Whether it's the style, the semantics, and then we'll talk about Sona and all that great stuff. It has to be excellent, nothing less. And then finally on testing, right? Everything that you do needs to be tested. Unit tested, functional tested, regression tested. Take a lot of pride in what you do and take that stuff really seriously. And I can assure you it will only help you in your career. This is so I have been in this industry for I'm pretty old. I didn't realize this till when I was putting this deck together. I've been in this industry for 18 years. That's a long time, right? And I've had the privilege of working with some of these guys here. Must be about 18 years, right? I've had the privilege of working with different people in Sri Lanka, in the States, in England, in different countries. Smart engineers, dumb engineers, average engineers, amazing mix of people, right? But so I spent a little time to really kind of frame this into, okay, how do you differentiate a really good engineer versus an average engineer, right? And here are some my thoughts on these characteristics. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is coming through 18 years of experience. Number one, a smart person, you don't have, and some of this relates to a person, not only an engineer, right? You don't have to give a lot of direction. You give a problem, a smart person can figure that out and figure out a solution for it. Whereas an average person, you have to give a lot of direction, right? You have to give the problem and almost micromanage what that person needs to be doing, otherwise he will go haywire. And then the smart people tend to be self-managed. Smart engineers, smart people also tend to be very creative, right? So they are not following the status quo, they will come up with new ideas, new suggestions, whereas an average person will follow orders. They prefer to follow orders. Tell me what to do and I will do it. Smart people need space to be creative. Average people don't need that space, they are working in a box, just need to be told what to do. Smart people also tend to thrive on recognition, versus most of the average people focus on comp, not necessarily the work aspect of it. A smart person also is very learns a lot, self-learns, right? Reads, improves their skills. Versus another, they would really want to be learned, right? You need to give that learning for someone who's not that smart. Wants to grow, wants to succeed. Does not require a lot of process, right? So I've been having a lot of people come here and complaining to me, why do we need these sonar reports? Why do we need to send these emails? I don't want to send those emails. I don't want anyone to be sending those emails, right? But in the past, when we didn't have this, we had a lot of code quality issues, right? So you tend to have to put these processes in place such that people don't go beyond those boundaries. I don't want to put those processes in place. If I had really 5 smart engineers working with me, I don't need that, right? But average people need a lot of process to be successful. Pride in the work they do, and also it's really about working in challenges, right? Whereas an average person focuses more on tasks than the challenge itself. So again, don't think too much of this. This is just in terms of what I think, in terms of the way people work and the way people expect work. But try and understand where you are in this situation, and as you mature, hopefully you can get to a situation where we don't have to. I'm not generalizing this to everyone, right? So try and understand where you are and how you can improve on this. Okay, so finally, I just wanted to talk about engineering excellence, because this relates to actually what Hirana is going to talk about in terms of the Engineering Hall of Fame. At the end of the day, I've told this at the last all hands meeting. This is what we do in Sri Lanka. This is really what everything that we do really boils down to, right? Engineering excellence. And we have defined this in 3 real aspects that all of you all need to really, really understand and really internalize, because this is what it is really about. Number 1 is about creativity, uniqueness, thought process in solving the problem, initiative, right? Number 2 is about engineering quality. This is a must, right? There is no question about that. And finally, it's about the platform, right? Remember, at the end of the day, everybody in engineering, we're building one single technology platform for the restaurant industry. So whatever you're doing, think through as to, okay, how does that fit into the technology platform, and what can I do to enhance that platform? All right, that was my presentation. I think Hirani is going to go next as to how the Engineering Excellence Hall of Fame is going to promote and recognize all the good work that you guys do.